New NBA Plus Stuff podcast in the description. Talked about Damian Lillard meeting with his owner to discuss the direction of the Trailblazers. And then I talked about The Shape of Water as well as Phantom Thread, two movies that are getting a lot of attention. But now, here I am once again talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers. I talked about a potential DeAndre Jordan trade. I talked about a potential George Hill trade. I talked about Tristan Thompson. And here I am once again. I would like to believe that each of these videos has enough of a difference between them to where I'm not just saying the same thing over and over again. This one is mainly going to be focused on the inner turmoil that seems to be going on with Cleveland right now, as they got destroyed by the OKC Thunder recently. It was not a contest, basically from the get-go. The Cavaliers have had problems on defense. There has been finger-pointing. There is belief that Kevin Love kind of quit on them and wasn't really sick in that game. Isaiah Thomas is shooting the ball too much. LeBron James is blaming others when he just sucks on defense sometimes. It's a whole whirlwind of things, and I think we should just kind of address each one as we go. So, if I can talk about Isaiah Thomas and just the fact that the dude dribbles a lot, Brad Stevens had a way of using Isaiah Thomas and having him be a shot-happy player, but at the same time not being a negative for the offense because a lot of it came through off-ball motion. I do not think Tyronn Lue has the smarts that Brad Stevens does, so as a result, the ball is going to be in Isaiah Thomas's hands a little bit more, and it's going to disrupt what the Cavaliers do as Isaiah takes pull-up jumpers, shoots three-pointers, has a lot of pick and rolls, tries to go one-on-one, those sort of things, where the status quo of this Cavaliers team for so long has been LeBron do everything, and you throw in sporadic Kevin Love post-ups, and Dwayne Wade can do a few things this year. And I think an interesting thing is Isaiah Thomas with LeBron James has been an absolute disaster. Minus 23.5 points. And the two main lineups that Isaiah Thomas has played in this season, the one that's actually a positive is without LeBron James. It's Jeff Green, Kyle Korver, Isaiah, Tristan Thompson, and Dwayne Wade. And I think that's something that Ty Lue should maybe explore a little bit more, because it kind of makes sense, because there's a bit more of a natural pecking order with that lineup where Isaiah Thomas is the primary ball handler. He and Dwayne Wade can do a little bit of my turn, your turn sort of deal. And then the other guys, Tristan Thompson, Korver, Jeff Green, those guys are used to playing off ball anyway. But in the main lineup, when you have Isaiah with LeBron James, that seems to be where it's breaking a lot of stuff up, because LeBron, not really an off-ball kind of guy. I mean, sure, he can cut and he can post up and things like that, but majority of the time, LeBron's got the ball in his hands and he's creating for everyone. You ask Isaiah Thomas to do that, number one, it's not as efficient basketball because LeBron's he's just better. But also, it asks everyone else to kind of go away from their comfort zone. I mean, this team won an NBA Finals. They got to a Game 6 of a Finals, and then they got absolutely trounced in the last one. Well, not absolutely trounced. They lost, but a couple of close games. This team has gotten used to what to do, and you throw Isaiah Thomas in there, and it's like a monkey wrench that just kind of screws everything else up, you know? So if you have Isaiah in more lineups where he's the lone ball handler, or he and Dwayne Wade, I guess, could be a bit more natural of a thing. Maybe then you do something where, for the most part, you have LeBron play with Kevin Love, and you have Isaiah Thomas play with Dwayne Wade, because that opens up the LeBron and Kevin Love pick and roll, and when you have Kevin Love at center, that can be a really devastating center, small forward, or whatever the hell position LeBron's playing nowadays, matchup for the other team, and it still maintains those Dwayne Wade with Kyle Korver lineups that have been so good all season. It's an idea. Ultimately, Isaiah Thomas is going to have to rein it back in a little bit, and everybody else is going to have to get a little more open to there being a dominant ball handler on the team. An interesting thing, and I think this really shows off the contrast here, is that the starting lineup with Jose Calderon is way better than the starting lineup with Isaiah Thomas. That's because I think everybody knows what to do, basically, in that lineup. But, the other thing is, while it might not work right now, I think you might have to power through with Isaiah and LeBron lineups, because that might be the only way that you're going to be able to have enough offensive punch to contend with the Warriors. I mean, if you're not playing Isaiah Thomas and you're not playing LeBron, or together, I should say, then you might not have enough firepower to compete with them, because you're definitely not going to do it on defense. So you might have to go through the growing pains and just kind of figure it out. So that's the first issue, Isaiah Thomas. Next, if we get to Kevin Love, I mean, Kevin Love's fit on this Cavaliers team has never been absolutely perfect. His defensive woes have come out. He has been relegated to sometimes more of a spot shooter, whereas in Minnesota he would have more opportunities to post up and sometimes even go off the dribble. And of course, it's not the same thing on this Cavs team. Do I expect there to be much of a difference? No, not really. Now, what is kind of interesting is that his usage rate, it's at 26%, which is way higher than it was when he first arrived in Cleveland. So the team's definitely warmed up to him a little bit more in terms of post-ups and all that. I do fear that with Isaiah Thomas now, he could get even less post-ups, which could result in Love being less engaged on offense, which we definitely don't need, as there's already a belief in the locker room that he's not giving all of his effort. So if you couple that with not as many shot attempts, well, we could have a problem here. And that could potentially go back to what I was saying before, where you run LeBron and Kevin Love lineups, because it seems like LeBron has figured out how to get Kevin Love involved. It took a while, but it does seem like it's at that point now. Whereas Isaiah Thomas might be a little more difficult. Because with Isaiah Thomas, a lot of his offense with Boston was with Al Horford, like pick and rolls and handoffs and pick and pops and that sort of thing. It wasn't a whole lot of dump the ball to Al Horford in the post and just stand there, which is kind of how the Cavs have gotten Kevin Love involved. So they are really throwing Isaiah Thomas, who's more of a square, into a circle spot that was created by Kyrie Irving, who was able to slowly mold his game to play next to LeBron. Now, even with all this potential lineup changes, guys changing up their mentality a little bit, LeBron James needs to stop complaining when he gets beat on defense and then blame someone else. Take some damn responsibility. And, I mean, I know he had the tweet. He had the one tweet where he was like, "Oh, I sucked tonight, man, but my teammates really lifted me up." But who the hell knows what LeBron means when he tweets? And for all I know, he has taken responsibility behind closed doors. So if he has, great. If he hasn't, then he better start doing it, because I mean, just go watch the damn OKC game. There's a bunch of moments where LeBron just sucked on defense, okay? He's a part of the problem on defense as well. Now, of course, if LeBron wasn't here, this team would be awful. So, you can't put too much blame on the guy. As for other potential things with Kevin Love and all that, I know they're running with Kevin Love at center, and from an offensive standpoint, it can do a lot of things. But his lack of defense is always going to come out at that position. If he's a power forward, you can at least be a little better off. You can hide him a little bit more. You're still going to have problems, but so ultimately Tristan Thompson at center or some other center would definitely help them out a lot. So there are some things that I think this team can definitely fix. Maybe not playing Isaiah Thomas and Kevin Love together, because number one, they're both bad on defense. And then two, whatever the hell else I said earlier, about Isaiah not really being comfortable with just throwing a guy in the post and then just standing there and all that stuff. On top of LeBron and Kevin Love together works. Isaiah and LeBron so far has not worked. Adjustment required by all sides. Do I think they'll figure it out? Yeah. Actually, do I think they're going to completely figure it out? No. I think there's going to be trouble with this team all season and into the playoffs. Do I think they're still going to make the NBA Finals? Yeah, because they have LeBron James And that's just the end-all be-all with anything with Cleveland, man. Among all the problems they have, they got LeBron James, so I think they're going to be in the NBA Finals. But this does definitely not look good if we're talking about him staying after this season, and that might pressure the Cavaliers into making a trade and moving that Brooklyn pick when, I mean, I've talked about this in videos. Like, I've talked about, would you trade the Brooklyn pick for DeAndre? Personally, I would not, because I don't think it makes you better than the Warriors, and you're going to have to re-sign DeAndre after this season, assuming he declines the player option, which I'm pretty sure he's going to. I mean, I would like the idea of trading for George Hill. Hell, it's even possible you could get DeAndre Jordan and George Hill, okay? You trade the Brooklyn pick for DeAndre, you trade your own pick for George Hill. Do I think that still makes you better than the Warriors? No, but it definitely makes you better on defense, so we'll just have to see what the hell happens. And then once again, new NBA Plus Stuff podcast in the description. Damian Lillard talking to the owner, Shape of Water, Phantom Thread, and I'm out.